How's it going, everybody? Joey Perez here. Today's guest is Evan Stanley. Evan is a sailor, entrepreneur, and an advocate for fitness and wellness. He is also a graduate of the United States Merchant Marine Academy, graduated with a degree in marine engineering with a commission in the United States Navy Reserve. What he currently sells on his Merchant Mariner license, working half of the year. He also runs the A60 undercoating with his brother Joe. In his free time, he enjoys lifting and running multiple wellness social media accounts across most major platforms. Without further ado, please welcome Evan Stanley.
Thanks for having me, how are you? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you?
It's sunny. I'm on land. It's beautiful. It's great.
I'm glad to hear about that. So I know since the last time we actually seen each other, we're close friends. You were out in seas. So I got to say, man, you was gone for like 6 months, so I'm pretty sure you missed. Last time I speak to you was before Christmas. I think it was like, I can't remember. It was around that time. How was it, by the way? How was it sailing? What was the experience you had? I haven't seen you. Last time we probably seen each other since you saw me at work. But I really want to know, how's everything's going? How do you feel? And do you have any stories to tell while you went on sail, basically, this year?
Yeah, so I could give kind of my backstory, but I'll dive right into the experience that I had. Yeah, so I went out for about 75 days. Not 6 months, but it certainly felt like 6 months. We'll say that. So I went out December 20th, and I got back around like the first week of March. And it was quite the experience. Different ships have different missions depending on the style of the engine room. Because I'm an engineer, it could vary how many hours you work a day. Some engine rooms have to be constantly manned. And if that's the case, we run a watch schedule. So usually it's like 8 to 12 hour watch periods. So that means you're down there, you'll do some day work or whatever, do whatever maintenance needs to be done based on running hours of equipment. And sometimes it's 8-hour days if you are a watchstander as well. But if it's not a manned engine room, it's just regular day work, whether it's 8 to 12 hours a day work. And if it's unmanned, somebody has to take like duty, which means that there's an alarm that goes to their room at night, and that usually alternates. So you get duty once every 4 nights or so. And yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. Well, I say it's not bad, but it really depends on the context of whatever job you're doing. For the last job that I had, I was working on a cable laying ship off the coast of Brazil. We were laying fiber optic internet cable for Google. And yeah, so it was 12-hour days. We were technically watch standing for cable operations. And my designated job, since I was a third assistant engineer, and I still am, I was designated to be the sewage engineer. So I was working on the sewage system. It was pretty miserable. Well, it was all right.
Is that something that they do because you're relatively new?
Yeah.
Like they just throw you in there to see how would you react and see if you could work your way up into like actually doing like more engineering stuff. So I mean like working with like engineers, ships, like building stuff back up inside the ship.
Yeah.
So they kind of like throw you into like the shithole, you can kind of say, and then have you like do all the dirty work.
Exactly.
That's basically what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it certainly is all dirty work, but this is like the entry point. So it's like kind of I wouldn't say it's like a ritual, but it's like on these style of ships, it's like, all right,
The new guy.
new guy's going to be the third. That's what they call me since I'm a third engineer. There were days where I was getting sprayed with raw sewage and even processed sewage. It was pretty miserable on my face, on my clothes, on my arms. Some days I'd shower like 3 times. Yeah, it wasn't the most fun, but I will say like the paycheck was good. Although I chose not to stay with the company. You know, I have worked with other companies in the past. And even as a cadet, when I was going through school, where I still was dealing with sewage, and I've gotten quite comfortable with it, as much as you can get comfortable with it. Yeah, that's not my main job, though. At the end of the day, I'm an engineer. So, like, as a marine engineer, I'm essentially a power plant operator on the water. So not only am I in charge of the propulsion, I'm also in charge of making sure that the lights are on, fresh water is made, because when you're out there at sea, we take salt water in, and we evaporate it into fresh water to be used for like everything on board the ship, for showers, for the sink, for the kitchen, or the galleys, what they call it. Yeah, we also do HVAC, air conditioning, sewage processing, make sure the lights are on, so electrical, and automation as well. It's a lot of different aspects. It's certainly complicated through my 4 years of university. So
I didn't know about when a ship sails, you basically grab salt water and then you kind of transfer it into more like purified water.
Yeah.
Me personally, I actually didn't know that. I thought it was more like you guys had a tub. If that makes sense. Probably that sounds fucking ridiculous if I
Like
actually
tank,
think about
yeah.
like a tank, like something big enough that like makes sure y'all last throughout several months of being in the water. I didn't know it was like a whole filter behind that, and that must sucks because you have to always check on it, make sure the water's purified, make sure everybody can have clean water because there's a lot of cooking there.
There's a level of salinity.
Okay, so there's the level of salinity, right?
Yeah, like salt in the water.
Okay.
It has to be below a certain threshold.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never knew that, so that's one thing that we actually never talked about, and I actually didn't know that was. That's freaking cool. Actually, if I actually talk about it, that's
Thank you.
actually
Yeah,
phenomenal.
yeah. Thank you.
That's actually really cool. I wanted to ask you, while we're talking about your career and the choices that you made so far, what made you decide to go to school for the Marine Engineering Academy? I'm probably saying that completely wrong. What made you decide to choose this career path? And if you could say to somebody, if you get to choose this career path, how many doors does it open? So is it like something that's because you went to school for it, you're able to go to any ship, basically, right? Is there more to that? Can you actually choose the ship? How long you can stay there for? Just like you told me, you was there for like 3 months. I thought it was longer than that. I thought it was like 6.
Yeah.
But is it something that you could tell people that's worth going to do? Like, can you say that you guys should follow this track? It's going to suck at first, but the payout's going to be good. Can you overall make a really good career choice off of it? Like the benefits that come from it.
The reason why I chose to go to the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, like everybody, it was free. I ain't gonna lie.
It was?
Yeah, so it was full tuition paid. It's a federal service academy, so I have to pay back my time.
Okay.
I have a 5-year service commitment in the maritime industry, so I have to sail for 5 years on my license. And for the Navy Reserves, I have 8 years, but my reserve commitment is 2 weeks a year. That's it. 2 weeks a year minimum. But yeah, I chose to go there because I had completely no idea what I wanted to do. If anything, I wanted to go to the Coast Guard Academy down in Connecticut, New London, Connecticut. Freshman year of college at the Merchant Marine Academy, well, Coast Guard didn't take me. Merchant Marine Academy, it's the only service academy that is not under the DOD. It's under the DOT, Department of Transportation.
So what is the DOD?
Department of Defense.
Got it.
The DOD is Department of Defense. And let's say there's 5 service academies. There's West Point, there's Navy, there's Coast Guard Academy, there's the Air Force Academy, and there's the Merchant Marine Academy. The 4 that I previously mentioned, whatever branch, the only caveat to like the Naval Academy is you could go Navy or Marine Corps. But Coast Guard Academy, you got to go Coast Guard. West Point or U.S. Military Academy, you got to go Army. And the Air Force Academy, you got to go Air Force or Space Force. Merchant Marine Academy, we could either choose to go active duty or sail as a civilian on your Merchant Mariner license. And I was so gung-ho about going Coast Guard because Merchant Marine Academy, you could choose to go active duty, any branch if you want to. Like there are kids who was like, some kids wanted to be a SEAL in the Navy. Some kids wanted to be a pilot in the Navy. Some kids wanted to fly drones in the Air Force. Others wanted to be in the Army, and other people wanted to be aviators in the Coast Guard, which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to fly helicopters for the Coast Guard, doing search and rescue, but after dealing with a lot of active duty stuff, I realized it was very, I won't say uptight, but it was very strict. I realized that I didn't want to surrender total control of my life to the military, even though I'm ironically paying back my time right now. Yeah, just senior year, it was like, all right, I have a choice. Go Coast Guard or sail. I got accepted into the Coast Guard, so I was offered a commission under 2 commissioning sources. Just decided not to. I decided to pick up a job close to home, and of course I got injured. You know about my injury. As soon as I recovered, I could either go back to that job that I had before, which I really love. I'll talk about that in a few minutes or so. But I was struggling a lot with the winter time and not really having a lot of money for car repairs. So I told my job, I was like, listen, I'm going to take one hitch just to get a lot of money and increase my competence within marine engineering. Exactly what I did. I was like, all right, I want to go to Brazil. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to Brazil, get a lot of money. And yeah, here I am. I'm back. So
How's your shoulder, by the way? Remember, it was your shoulder, right?
Yeah.
How is it?
It's better, yeah. It's better. Yeah, so for those who don't know, I dislocated my shoulder on flat bench in October.
It happens.
It happens, yeah. Literally, I left for my 2-week Navy duty. The day I got back, like, my gym membership expired, so I signed up for a free pass at another gym, and I'm going to say the gym, but, like, they didn't make me sign the waiver. Like, if you get injured, you're liable. But I ironically, the one time I got injured, so I was like, all right, I'm not going to fuck this gym over. But anyways, yeah, I dislocated my shoulder. I was like, fuck. and just rehabbed it. But yeah, it's better now, like on incline bench and benching of or pressing of any sorts of means. But usually for heavy loads like RDLs or deadlifts, like I still kind of feel just a little discomfort in the shoulder, to say the least.
I'm glad that the injury ended up not making you permanently, well, crippled, if that makes sense.
Oh, no,
Like
yeah.
your surgery did not mess you up 100%. You know, at least PT helped out a lot.
Bro, I don't know if you ever seen Woody from Toy Story.
Yeah.
Woody got his arm like fucking ripped off.
Yeah.
That's how I felt, bro. I was like,
Yeah, you couldn't move it last time I seen you. It was like
dangling.
stuck.
Like I'd pull up my sock and it felt like the ball was coming out the joint.
Yeah, last time I seen you, like you was like saying it was like popping, then you end up getting PT for it. So I'm glad that you're recovering. You're back, basically doing some flat bench press, not at that gym anymore. Because we all know commercial gym sucks. Just gonna clarify that. We could clarify that. Commercial gyms are not good. Definitely the bench press because they're usually too low.
Yeah.
And I almost injured my freaking shoulders for even doing that. And I usually recommend like get like a mat and just like lay it down on there so your shoulders don't move around the tweak. So you have that perfect arch through your back so it can hit you.
Yeah.
No, I know exactly how you feel. I usually do. It sucks. It sucks a lot. I want to ask you. Now we know a little bit about why you decided to do it, become an engineer, the background. Where are you from? So we didn't get to that part yet. Are you like we're both from Connecticut,
Yeah.
as you can see. But like a little bit of your background history, like growing up.
Yeah, so I am from East Windsor, Connecticut. By the way, I just wanted to shout out Lightning Fitness, by the way.
Yeah.
Just all commercial gyms are not fun, but Lightning Fitness is literally the best gym in the world. Mainly because like I've traveled around the world. I've been to 6 continents. Every single gym I've been to over almost 50 gyms. Lightning Fitness is the best gym. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I grew up in East Windsor, Connecticut. I went to public schools in East Windsor until I was about 10 or 11, till 5th grade. Then I went to a school that was a magnet school in Bloomfield, and that was kind of hoodish a little bit. So I definitely got a taste of culture, which was pretty cool. And yeah, just around like 10th or 11th grade is when I wanted to go to the Coast Guard Academy. That's when I realized it. So I kind of like put my ass in high gear. I went from like literally a Jeffrey, like a skinny, fat, video game addicted, junk food addicted, mouth breather, kicked it into high gear to just get my grades from like a C plus to like an A plus student. Lost over like 35 pounds and really had my sights focused on Coast Guard Academy because that was my mission at the time. Got my weight in check, got my diet in check, got my mind in check, getting good grades and having a job, and it was phenomenal. And then Coast Guard Academy rejected me. So I was like, fuck, I didn't know what to do. So I put all my eggs in one basket. Imagine going to Vegas, putting it all in red. It hit black. And so I was like, all right, still have the Merchant Marine Academy. Could also be another source. And my brother at the time, when I was a senior in high school, he was a sophomore at Maine Maritime Academy, which is also a maritime academy, but is a state academy. So the way it works is, when it comes to the maritime field is best known for like oil rigs, right? It's like oil rigs in the Gulf of Mexico. There are 7 state maritime academies, which you have to pay out of pocket for, but you don't have a service commitment for, right? So your commitment is debt to the banks. My commitment is time debt to the government. So he went to Maine Maritime Academy, which is one of the 7 state schools, or one of the 6 state schools. I went to the federal one. He was also a marine engineer that he was studying for. He was like, go engineering, don't go active duty out of Kings Point, do this, do that. I was like, dude, I'm gonna live my life. I'm gonna be in the Coast Guard. I'm gonna fly helicopters. Don't tell me what to do. And here I am. I'm doing the same exact thing he's doing. But yeah, he's also in debt. He had about $120,000 in student loans, which is crazy. But the amount of money he's making is like, it pays back very, very fast. Like, he's making about 155, and he works 6 months a year. On the ship that I was just on, I was making for 6 months of work, I was making $22,000 a month, which is pretty good, to say the least. Really, really good. I'm very blessed. I had no idea what I wanted to do, and I even right now, like, I still am finding a sense of direction, and I do have a sense of direction. It is definitely towards like the medical field and like the fitness industry and wellness industry, especially like gut health and brain health as well. So I'm using this time right now to generate experience with hard work, get a lot of money, hopefully go back to school soon. So that's pretty much it.
Thank you for telling us that story. With your brother, so that's insane. That much in debt, but like easily could pay that off pretty quick.
Yeah.
Just the career path that he chose. Did he ever went back to school? Like decided to? No. He's just like, I'm making this much money. I know this is my career choice. I'm gonna stay with this for a while.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's freaking awesome. Another question. I know we talked about one place, Brazil. All right. I gotta ask, since you're an engineer and you work like in the boats and you get to travel all over the world. You said you've been in a ton of continents, right? Can you name some like continents that you've been to?
Yeah.
And then describe like what's it like? Being like basically part of the Navy, go out with your friends, having fun. Like what was your experience like traveling to different countries and basically enjoying yourself while you had the chance? I know like you probably was only able to stay there for like a week or like 2 or 3 days sometimes because the ship moored there for a little bit. I understand that.
Yeah.
That's basically my question. So what type of locations have you been to? And which one would you say like I want to go back there because it was freaking awesome?
Oh, dude, this is great. Yeah, so I've been for continent wise. I've been to South America, been to Africa, Europe, North America, obviously Asia. I forgot the name of the continent, but it's like in the same region of like Australia,
Yep.
and like the islands off Australia. That's its own separate continent. So that's 6 of the 7 right there. I've been to multiple different countries. I'll quick fire them out right now. I've been to Belgium. I've been to Djibouti, Africa, which is pretty much Somalia.
Right.
I've been to Oman, which is right next to Iraq, I believe, in Saudi Arabia. I've been to, I already said Greece. Did I say Greece?
No, you have not said Greece yet.
Not Greece? Okay. I've been to Greece, been to Guam, which I'm throwing into the 6th continent, even though it's under the U.S. I'm still going to say it. Cool states I've been to Hawaii, which is really cool. I've been to Japan. I've been to Korea. And as far as the U.S., obviously Hawaii, Virginia, Georgia, California, Colorado, all from sailing, or flying 2 places from sailing. The 2 places that I love the most and I definitely want to go back. Brazil as well. I've been to Brazil. The 2 countries that I want to go to the most again would have to be Japan. I definitely want to go to Japan, Sasebo or Korea, Sas Vegas, and I want to go back to Guam as well, which is, I wouldn't say it's a country, but it's definitely under the U.S. Guam is so beautiful. It's like a less industrialized Hawaii, but Japan was really, really cool. The people, I wouldn't say they're the friendliest I've been to, but it's like very safe, and people are willing to help if you ask, and it's like really cool. It's really advanced as well. So that's the 2 places I want to go to again.
So you've been to Japan, Korea, ready for the one that starts with a G.
Greece.
And then what was the other place like in Africa?
Djibouti.
Been to a lot of different places. You've seen a lot of different cultures. You see how they eat, you see how they sleep, and you see how polite people are depending on the type of culture. Because like you all know, like you come to different areas, everybody's gonna act completely different. We all know like that's we're human, so we're all gonna have our own type of style and the way we think and the way we talk. And you're saying that Japan, a lot of people have been talking about Japan. Like everybody want to go to Japan lately. I'm one of them. I would say how it is. I seen a lot of videos about it. I see it's like very safe, but we also know there's some bad stuff that happens there. But it's I think like really minor. We don't know though, 100%. We're not from there. We see like some stories, but we don't know because we don't live there.
Yeah.
But I really want to go to Japan also. That's something I see myself doing possibly in the future. So we all know you've been to Greece, Japan, Korea, South Africa, around there. How was Greece like? If you don't mind me asking.
Dude, so I got a bunch of sea stories. I got a lot of dad lore, and I'm 22.
Oh,
so
shit.
I was 20 years old at the time when I went to Greece. And a little backstory to Greece. We went through the Suez Canal, so we made a pit stop in Djibouti. And this was around like February 17th, 2022. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what happened a week after that? Just about a week after that?
No, what happened?
Okay, yeah. So
During the war?
it was the start of the war when Russia invaded Ukraine. Yeah. So we passed the Suez Canal. Everything was cool, and I was on a Navy auxiliary ship at the time. So it was with Military Sealift Command. We would refuel Navy ships that were out at sea. So like, if you're on a Navy ship or if you're in the Navy, like active duty, you're gonna be out there for months and months on end. I was on the ship that gave you guys supplies, so we were in port like once a month at the longest duration. And so anyways, we're in the Mediterranean Sea, and like a day of entering the Mediterranean, literally like the day before Russia invaded Ukraine. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Greece. We're gonna spend a week there. It's gonna be fucking dope. It's gonna be cool." Then Russia invaded Ukraine. I was like, "Well, this isn't good." And everyone was like, "Oh yeah, there's like Russian subs in the Med. We got to get back to the States." So we only spent a night in Greece, bro, and we tore it up. Yeah, so I felt bad for the deck cadets. So there were 3 deck cadets in my class that were on the ship with me, and there were 2 other engineering cadets with me, and they didn't allow the deck cadets off to go into the city. It was Suda Bay Crete. So it was me, my 2 other buddies, and we had to have a chaperone, but the chaperone was like an unlicensed guy. He was like an electrician. He was like, "I'm gonna go over here and look at something real quick," and he just ditched us. And he was old. He was an old head too. So it was just me and my 2 buddies. It was a fever dream, bro. Like there was like there was like a communism, like either like a protest or like a pro-communism protest or something weird. We're marching down the street, and it's me and my 2 buddies, just like 3 white dudes, obviously American, and we're just like going against the flow of these like either pro-communist or anti-communist. They gave us a pamphlet, and it was in Greek. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna save this for later. Just take a look at it. So I quit drinking, but that night was like the precursor, like the start of the end for me to quit drinking. I hadn't had alcohol for over 3 months, and I was like, this is my one night in Greece. We're gonna hit the States. It's gonna be cold. It's gonna be miserable, and Russia invaded Ukraine, so there's that stress. Fuck it. I'm gonna live it up. I'm gonna party. Sorry. So I mix like every alcohol underneath the sun.
So you did black and white.
Yeah.
Like you just combined.
Yep. Like vodka.
Like Gojo, like on some anime.
Yeah, like vodka, whiskey, beer, wine, everything.
You're insane.
I had like
All
15.
in one day, you're insane.
I had like 15. Yeah, like 15 shots.
Wow.
How
are you still alive?
I don't know how I'm still alive. I blacked out, but I like came back in, phased back in, whatever. I woke up the next morning. I was like, I got back to the ship at 2 a.m. We missed the bus, so we had to get a taxi, and like the distance from where the taxi dropped us off was like half a mile down the hill was the ship. So it was like crazy. Stumbling back to the ship. We get back. Unfortunately, the deck cadets were unloading fuel, like bunkering fuel, and so like I felt bad for them. So I was like drunk anyways, just messing with them. 2 a.m. Ship left at 5 a.m. So I was supposed to wake up at 5 a.m. for departure, be down in the engine control room. I wake up at 7. My buddy wakes me up. He's also hungover as fuck. I'm hungover. The 3rd engine cadet is hungover. We get to the engine control room, and the chief engineer notices we're all like miserable, hungover. I'm pale as Casper. I'm white. I'm just like no blood in my face. And he's like, all right, boys, push-up competition.
Set you up for failure.
Yeah, he set us up for failure. But like, we just ignored it. Like, we pretended we didn't hear him. He brought it up like 5 minutes later. He was like, all right, we're going to have a push-up competition. I was like, fuck, I don't want to do this. And so anyways, I was like, I was lifting pretty heavily at the time, and I was doing a lot of calisthenics. I was like, before that, I was doing like a lot of push-ups, like 300 push-ups a day. And so 5 hours of sleep, sore from lifting the night before, hungover, and I was just like kind of miserable. We did the push-up competition. Like one buddy got like 50, one buddy got like 74. I got 104.
While be like still intoxicated, still drunk.
Well, no, I mean,
were you like a little like tipsy? You were like,
I wouldn't say tipsy, but I was like still hungover and like out of it, and like I had no sleep. I was like sleep deprived, if anything, and still like hungover. I got 104 with the ship rocking, so there's that. Because like depending on how the ship rocks, it's like you could either have the easiest rep of your life or like a 80% of your working set is like a PR. It's either way, bro. It's insane. So anyways, I beat the other 2 guys, so they had to stay for work and sweat it out in the bottom of the engine room where it's like 105 degrees. I got to go sleep, so I went to sleep for like the rest of the morning. Yeah, I just ate and throw up a lot more, and it was just pretty miserable. But that's a memorable story I have, because like I was in Djibouti, and Djibouti was kind of miserable too. Like we had fishing boats follow us, which either fishing boats or pirates, so there's that paranoia that was on that as well. And yeah, it was just a lot of interesting interesting things to say the least. So
I was going to ask you that. I didn't know the story is going to be told that way. Like that's your most memorable moment. That was like the most fun and most craziest chaotic situation that you probably been through when you was there. Probably like not even far worse than probably working, like you said, had to work in like a toilet area and all the rust shit. Even though you wasn't like drunk or anything. Like, dude, that must have sucked even worse.
yeah.
Is there any other memorable moments that you like would like to say? Like let people know like this is how fun actually my job is. And it's like super, like you meet like brotherhood type. And then with that memorable moment, I'm gonna ask you last 2 questions of the day. After figure out the memorable moment, I want to ask you what type of ships have you been on, and then I want to end it with if you could give advice to somebody that would like to do the exact same career you're doing, what would the advice be?
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and like start off with the memorable moment. I know that was one of them, but I know you got like far more stories that you haven't told yet, some crazy stuff. And I want to know that's like something like I will keep that to heart. And you're probably still in contact with some of the people here today.
Yeah, so I have a lot of memorable moments, a lot of shitty moments as well, a lot of breaking points. One of my breaking points was February 2021. That's a memorable moment in terms of I was on a container ship and I was supposed to be working 8 hours a day, but some days were like 14. There was a day that was 19 hours long. It was just miserable, sweaty, and bloody because like you're working around fast, sharp machinery too. So I got cut up quite a bit. I was only supposed to be working 8, but they kind of like I didn't get overtime obviously since I'm an intern kind of cadet kind of thing. So it was like, all right, we're just gonna use this kid so it doesn't cut into our overtime. And yeah, it was pretty miserable just going through issues, and that was like the turnaround point for self improvement in me and myself because I was at that point I was like, all right, I lost 18 pounds in 6 weeks. Family friend had died, and I'd found out through Facebook, like using the ship's shitty Wi-Fi. And
Sorry to hear about that.
no, yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was an accident, and just going through some girl problems at the time too. So I was losing a lot of weight. I was just miserable, and I was like doing all the bad habits that like mainstream media and like everyone would tell you to do. Just be like, oh, it's okay to play video games. It's okay to use TikTok for a few hours a day.
Yeah,
it's okay
to get hit by like a ton of dopamine.
Dopamine. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay to jerk off at the end of the day and watch porn and like all that. A lot of stuff like, oh, it's okay to have the donut. So I was like indulging in that, and I was losing a lot of weight. I was miserable mentally, and obviously working my ass off in the engine room for like 14, 18 hours some days. I put my foot down. I was like, fuck this. I'm done being skinny. I'm done being disrespected, and like people telling me that I'm not as competent as I am. And so that moment, February 2021, was memorable for me because that's when I started hitting the gym. But I don't want to leave this on a negative note. I would say like a positive experience was about a year later, after the Greece incident or the Greece story. I like saying incident because it like makes it seem like it's more out of pocket. But I had fully decided to ramp down my drinking to celebrations only. So I'd gone sober, and really went into monk mode. And I transferred ships to like a Pacific Coast ship. So that's when I went to Hawaii and Guam and Japan and Korea. And I got into the best shape of my life, got on my cut. And my profile picture is actually during that time as well. Like I look absolutely yoked out of my mind, like diced, shredded. Like at that time, like I'm a small guy, relatively small. But after I got off my ship and was pretty diced, like new kids to the gym. I don't want to gloat or gleam, but kids were like accusing me of being on some things.
It's always like that.
It's always right. But I didn't have the size though. I had the back knee though, but I was like diced back knee, and like maybe not the biggest, but I was definitely diced. And so, anyways, that was pretty memorable for me as well. A couple weeks after the Greece incident though, we had to test the fire sprinklers on the outside deck, and being in like Africa and Oman in the hot weather, moving over to like Virginia during March, like winter time, with the breeze of the sea, it was cold. But they told us like the engine cadets, we had to get into our bathing suits and test the fire sprinklers on the outside deck.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so dude, it was so cold. I was numb all around. I was drenched. It was fun though. It was fun. We had a lot of fun. But I snuck away and went to my shower to heat up, and yeah, it was pretty crazy. Obviously going to Japan was pretty crazy, especially during like peak monk mode time. And I celebrated my 21st birthday twice because I crossed the international date line, so that was pretty cool.
So cool.
On my birthday too. Types of ships I've been on. So the maritime industry has a lot of different ships. You have oil tankers, you have ferries, you have cruise ships. Just to name a few ships I've been on container ships. I've been on a ro-ro, which is a roll-on, roll-off ship, which is similar to a ferry, but not quite.
What is a row? Like, what do you mean? Like,
A ro-ro carries has a platform where you could roll on like heavy artillery equipment, tanks,
that's cool.
Hummers, and like during wartime, like when you're shipping stuff out to like the Middle East, those were the types of ships that we would use.
Okay.
Container ships, obviously, and then I was on a TAO, which is a
Sounds so cool.
it's a yeah, thank you. It's a one of the Navy auxiliary ships. It's a fleet replenishment oiler. So we would shoot hoses over to like the Navy ships out at sea. So like we'd pull up right next to like a Navy ship, and they would hook up the hose, and we would give them fuel while they're out at sea, so they didn't have to go back to port. And we'd also shoot over lines and wires to send crates over the ocean. Like I've heard and I've seen some like videos like some crates falling in. Not on my ship though, or ships. And then I was also on a TAKE, which is a newer version of like the fleet replenishment oilers. Definitely very cool. And as a third engineer, once I graduated, I worked on a ferry, multiple ferries close to home, and I do want to go back to that job. I had the full intention to go back to that job after my injury, but I needed to get the money to buy a car, so which is why I went on the cable ship. Ferries, did that, loved it. We were just shuttling cars between Long Island Sound from Long Island to the lower coast of Connecticut. Then I was on a cable lane ship, so we were laying internet cable on the bottom of the ocean floor. Some of the cable would have to go underneath the ocean floor, and some of the cable was just laid on top. That was really cool as well. Lots of hard work, long days, 12-hour days. I'll tell you, 12-hour days go by fast and slow at the same time. So, yeah.
That ship about moving tanks, and that's actually freaking cool. Dude, I didn't know you actually did that part. Like you must have seen a lot of crazy stuff in there. That's freaking awesome. We're gonna go ahead and end it off with this note right here. If you could give anybody advice to something that you did when you was coming up and decided to join, become like we talked about. So like, what advice would you give somebody to actually say, hey, if you think about doing this, is worth it, or hey, if you think about doing this, this is the benefits of doing this. The experience, like you said, the memorable moments, the ups and downs, the time that you said that you even felt like crap and then you lost like 18 pounds in like what, 3 weeks?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. I was like a month.
Month and a half.
Month and a half. Sorry, month and a half.
Yeah.
That is insane. And then how you like flip the switch and you said that's like your most memorable moment because that was the hardest time of your life. And gotta say, now he is shredded as fuck. You're still doing your fitness stuff. I see you posting a lot. If you ever had the chance, his Instagram is your first name, that last name, right?
Yeah, my wellness Instagram account. That's where I post a lot of educational and infographic stuff. It's Stans _well. Stans well.
Go ahead and put that down in the description below so they can instantly just jump into your Instagram. I'm also going to tag his YouTube channel. I believe it's the exact same name, or it's your first name and last name. Yeah. So I'm going to tag his I'm going to tag his YouTube channel and his Instagram below, even your TikToks. So if they ever want, they could just go ahead and check him out. Like, he knows a lot. I've been watching stuff for a minute. He actually did a recent one. I hit him up, and this was like yesterday. You tried one of the Celsius. Yeah. He tried this flavor right here, and I was like, does it actually taste like Orangesicle? Because I had a lot of different energy brands, and he recommended like, dude, it's fire #1. So I ended up trying it, and I got to say, it actually tastes really fucking good. Yeah. Not only that, he talks about, he actually shows like why sleeping, eating, and how to build muscle is important. So you kind of get into that stage of like, if you really want to figure out what does he do and want to learn from it, definitely highly recommend looking at his Instagram, definitely on TikTok too, because it'll be a quicker snip so you can see if you like it or not. With that, we're going to go ahead and end it with this again. If you get the chance to give somebody advice to choose the exact same career path that you choose, what would it be and why?
All right, so obviously the biggest piece of advice is do not pay for school. If you're in high school right now watching this, I don't know how many people are going to be watching this. Do not go into debt for college unless you know what you want to do, or unless there's a high return of investment. So if you're unsure what you want to do, I would recommend you go to community college and join the National Guard, The Air National Guard's really good right now as well. So if you go to community college for a couple years, then go to Air National Guard. By 2 years, you should kind of have an idea of what you want to do, and the Air National Guard will pay for your school. And it's like weekend drills, like once a month. So you can do that, and you also get some experience traveling. Traveling is the greatest experience. I definitely feel mentally, I feel like I'm 25, 26, maybe even 27, because I've gone through a lot of experiences, and like in 1 year, I would have gone through like 3 summers based on all the traveling I've done, like different hemispheres and all that stuff. But yeah, just being in a lot of like different areas, and it's like, it's interesting. And yeah, the greatest piece of advice, I studied my ass off in high school. Study very hard in high school. You could fuck off in college all you want because you're there, unless you have full intention of getting a graduate degree. Study hard in high school. It's easy. You just have to show that you want to learn and put some effort in, and sign up for scholarships. And if you play a sport, you get a sports scholarship. I got a full ride because I went to a service academy. I had like maybe $8,000 in debt, which I paid off pretty fast. And yeah, that's the best advice. Travel, get some good experience, because I don't like harping on other creators, but I notice a lot of younger creators, they don't have life experience. They haven't traveled. They haven't. The most experience they've had with life and going to the gym, well, obviously going to the gym is getting rejected by a girl and lifting weights. That's the most experience they've had. And I'm not saying that to be judgmental or harp, but going out and going even like across the country, or like even to Canada, or like across some states, and experience like different cultures and like different people, and going through some things, it's like good experience, builds competency. Like I've been thrown in many situations where I couldn't call my parents to save me. Like I was in a totally different country, and I had to figure that shit out on my own, and not die. And it's worked. Study hard in high school. Stay physically fit. Stay mentally fit. Another key I have is don't get a girlfriend in college. Like unless she aligns with everything that you want in life, like a positive influence. Like she's not going out to clubs and bars on the weekend, getting drunk, shaking some ass. You know what I mean? If she is a good girl and has like good values that is wifey material, that's the only time I'd recommend you date. But for the most part, 18 to 22, 23 is an integral part of your life. Even mid-20s, it's an integral part of your life where you have to put full focus onto your life and your career and development to be as good of a person as you can be, but get a head start in the real world. So
I appreciate it so much. That was awesome advice actually at the end. Definitely about the college experience, like you said. With that, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for sitting out here in the fucking cold. I know you're freezing. I am too. And I appreciate your time. It really means a lot. Half of the stories, I know like 1 or 2 of them, but like majority of the stories that you was talking about did not know. Like that was insane. And I appreciate you so much for actually sitting out here again in the freezing cold, having the chance to sit down and tell your story. Yeah. Definitely in the future, you're gonna be coming back. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. And we're gonna talk more about fitness. Okay. That'll be the key after that. So now we know a little bit about your history, working the ships, doing some crazy crap, and how it changed you as a person. And now this is where you're at the moment, and how you still plan on moving on in the future to do even more crazier stuff and have fun. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Evan. Stanley?
Yeah.
Stanley's or Stanley?
Stanley.
Good. All right, we're good. Yeah. Make sure I'm saying that right. I appreciate your time. And again, we'll definitely be coming back, and we're going to be talking about fitness next time in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, guys. That's going to be the end of the video. If you like the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And if you have any questions, definitely hit this guy up on Instagram, TikTok, or even on YouTube. Just leave a comment or just slide up on his page and say something really out of pocket. Have fun with that. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Deuces. How was that?
Good.
That was fun. That was
great.
That was fun. That's the same in my head. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.